Now, coming back to the Israel-Hamas war. Such conflicts call for mature statesmanship, no rhetoric, no name-calling, mature leadership. But looks like Turkey's Recep Tayyip Erdogan missed the memo. His job seems to be provocation, needling Israel into a shouting contest. And he seems to have caught Netanyahu's attention. Erdogan addressed the Turkish parliament on Wednesday. It was pretty explosive stuff. He asked Netanyahu whether Israel has nuclear weapons. He also called Israel a terror state. Listen in.
I am calling on Netanyahu from here. Do you have an atom bomb or not? Do you have it or not? Announce it if you dare. But he can't. Hey Israel, you have an atom bomb, a nuclear bomb, and you are threatening with this. We know this. No matter whether you own a nuclear bomb, own whatever you own, but you are a goner. And right now I'm openly saying with a clear conscience that Israel is a terror state.
For some context, Israel is widely believed to have nuclear weapons. Their atomic program dates back to the 1960s. The difference is they don't admit it. Because if they do, it could trigger an arms race, a nuclear arms race in the region. So Israel keeps things under wraps, and it's a sensitive issue for them. Earlier this month, one of Netanyahu's ministers suggested nuking Gaza. He was immediately suspended. But why is Erdogan raising this issue? After all, Israel does not really need nukes to invade Gaza. Traditional weapons are more than enough. So what is Erdogan hinting at? His entire strategy is based on rhetoric, on positioning himself as a tall Islamic leader. It's actually a U-turn for him. In the early days of this war, Erdogan was more measured. He urged restraint on both sides. He also offered to mediate a political solution. Plus, he was warming up to Israel. Last year, he hosted the Israeli president. He also met Israel's then Prime Minister Yair Lapid. Why then has he changed his tone? Because Erdogan has sensed the changing tide, both at home and abroad. At home, his support base is largely Islamist, and they're firmly pro-Palestine. So when Erdogan urged restraint, he was criticized. His own former aides questioned him. Same case abroad. Massive pro-Palestine marches were held across Western capitals. The Muslim world closed ranks. So Erdogan's mediation strategy looked counterproductive. And what did he do? Make a complete U-turn. From talking about peace, Erdogan went to calling back diplomats. He cancelled his upcoming visit to Israel. He also called Hamas freedom fighters. Listen to this.
Hamas is not a terrorist organization, but a liberation group. A group of mujahideen that is fighting to protect its soil and its citizens.
What does this tell you? Well, two things are possible. A, Erdogan is not interested in mediation anymore. He wants to milk this war for political gains, which is classic Erdogan. Or B, he's thinking ahead, because this war will eventually end. And when it does, there will be intense negotiations, like who controls Gaza, what happens to the two-state solution, what happens to Hamas. Maybe Erdogan is trying to position himself for that, for a good seat at the table. In fact, he's yet to cut communications with Israel. He may have recalled diplomats, but he still has a hotline to Netanyahu. Meaning, Erdogan is ready for all eventualities. It won't be easy, though. You've just called Israel's prime minister a terrorist. You've called Hamas liberator. So good luck mediating after such provocative statements. Netanyahu, in fact, has responded to them. He says Israel does not need lectures from Erdogan.
You know, there are forces that support the terrorists, and one of them is President Erdogan of Turkey, who calls Israel a terrorist state, but actually supports the terrorist state of Hamas, has himself bombed Turkish villages inside Turkey itself, so we're not going to get any lectures from them.
Erdogan has insurance here. He knows that the West needs him in Europe, both to expand the NATO alliance and to mediate with Russia. So he can get away with provocative statements like these. Just consider this. When Iran supported Hamas, the US was livid. Joe Biden warned of consequences. But when Erdogan did the same, Washington was more subdued. There was a clear reluctance to criticize him. Listen to this.
All the statements by Mr. Erdogan against Israel and in favor of Hamas I mean, I have an easy question. Do you like this statement or not? Why you don't say it?
I think I made pretty clear our assessment of Hamas, and it does differ from the one that was offered.
But do you have any problem that your ally Erdogan is saying that Israel is terrorist and not Hamas?
I think our views are pretty well known on this question,
Yes.
that Hamas is a brutal terrorist organization. I don't think anyone is in doubt about what we think about this situation, and we will continue to engage with all of our allies.
Another question.
It's the same with Qatar. They too support Hamas, and they too have been given the long rope by Washington. But unlike Qatar, Turkey is nearly broke. Their inflation is more than 60%. Their currency is down 55% compared to last November. Doha has the money to bankroll its ambitions. Erdogan does not. So his high-stakes strategy could easily backfire. Forget a good seat at the table. If things go wrong, he may not even be in the room.